Hello and welcome to this lecture. And in this lecture, we will learn about authentication. And authentication simply means how to register, log in, and log out users. Now, in case you need to design a website where any external users can add some data to your website, then in that case, you need to make sure that you authenticate the users first, even before you give them access to your data on your website. And to authenticate users, first of all, you need to register them on your website. And what exactly do I mean by registration is that you simply go ahead, accept their username, passwords, email, and simply store their data onto your website. So that means when the next time they visit your website, you can simply go ahead and make them log in with the same credentials which they have previously used to register themselves on your site. Now, in order to just go ahead and implement all this authentication functionality in Django, what we need to do first is that we need to create a completely new application. Now, in the main project, which is the My Site, we currently have a food app over here, and now we also need to create a new app which is called as, let's say, users. So in order to create that app, let's simply open up the command prompt, and first of all, I'm going to stop my server here. And in order to create a new app, you always go ahead and use a command which is Django admin start app users. So let's go ahead and type in Django-admin start app, and the name of that app is users. So now let's go ahead, hit enter, and the app should be created for us. So now if you have a look over here, as you can see, now we have the users app over here. And the first thing which you always do when you have created the app is that you simply go ahead and go into the apps.py file. You simply copy the users config from here, or which is the app name config from here, and then you go to the settings.py file of your main site. So let's go here, and first of all, we need to go ahead and add that particular created app to this particular install apps list. So let's go ahead and add that up over here as well. So that's going to be app name, which is users.apps.usersconfig. So now once we have added that to the install apps, now we are free to go ahead and actually implement the authentication functionality. Now, first of all, as now we want to register the users, we now need to go ahead and create a view which is going to help the users to get registered. So now in order to create a view, we just go ahead and go into the views.py file of our new app, which is users. So this is the users app, and this is the views.py file for the users app. Now in here, how exactly can we create a view which is going to accept some data from the user? So as usual, we need to go ahead and create a form. Now we have created a form to actually accept data, that is the form data. Like we have accepted the item details or the food item details from the user by creating a form. But in case of authentication, over here what we are going to do is that we are going to use the inbuilt forms which come with Django, which automatically create the registration form for us. And that's the best part about Django, that is, you don't have to build the authentication logic from scratch. You don't have to build a form either. Everything is actually set up and provided by Django. You just need to go ahead and use that into your application. So now, how exactly can we go ahead and do that? So first of all, in order to use a form, which is the user creation form in Django, first of all, you need to import that user creation form. And to import that, you type in from, that's going to be django.contrib.auth.forms, and from the forms we specifically import the user creation form. So we type in import, that's going to be user creation form, not the change form, that should be creation form. And now once we have this form, we can now simply go ahead, create a particular view and use that form over here. So now let's go ahead and create a view over here, and let's say we call that view as let's say register. And now to this register view, we are now simply going to pass in a request. So as we always do with a particular view, we pass in a request. And now to create a form out of this user creation form, you simply type in form equals, and that's going to be user creation form. And now once we have this form, we now go ahead, we simply need to render a template. So we type in return render, and that's going to be request. And then let's pass in a template name over here. So right now we have not yet created the template, but we are still going to pass it over here. So let's say the name of the template to register a user is going to be register.html. And now what we do is that to this particular template, we simply pass in the user creation form, which we have created right over here as a context. So here I'll just type in form : form. That means we have now created a view, and we have created a form inside that view, and we have passed that form to the template, which is register.html. Now let's go ahead and create the template, which is register.html. And now as we have created the new app, which is users right here, in order to create a template into any app, first of all we need to go ahead and create a templates directory. So let's go ahead and type in templates over here, and in this templates directory, let's go ahead and add another directory, which is nothing but users. And in this particular users directory, let's now go ahead and add in the actual template, which is register.html. So that's going to be register.html, and in here we are actually going to create the form. So for now I'll just go ahead and type in form, and the method for this form is going to be post as usual. And now here we first add a CSRF token, as we always do with forms in Django. So CSRF_token, and now what we do is that we simply go ahead and use this context, which is form right here, and the form is going to be automatically added up right over here. So I'll type in form, and we are good to go. Now we simply need to add a submit button over here. So I'll type in button, and let's say the type is going to be submit, and let's say this button says something like sign up. And now once we have added all that, we are almost good to go. So now we have a working view here, and we also have a template which is connected to this particular view, which is actually going to render our registration form. Now the only thing which remains is that we need to create a URL pattern so that we can actually go ahead and access this particular registration form. So now instead of adding a urls.py file in the users app, what I'm directly going to do is that I'm directly going to jump on to the my site directory, and I'm directly going to use the main urls.py file, which is this file right here. Now in here I'll directly add a path to register a user. So I'll type in path, and in here I'll type in register as the name of the path. So I'll type in register /, and here now we need to access the view, which is the view which we have just created, and that is nothing but this view right here, which is the register view. So first of all we need to actually go ahead and import that register view. So in order to import that view, I'll simply go ahead and type in from users, I'll type in import views, and I'm actually going to import all the views as, let's say, user_views. So now in order to access the register view, now you need to type in views, which we have just imported right here, and this should actually be from, not form. So now once we have imported the views, we now go ahead and type in user_views, because we have imported views as user views. And now in order to access the register view from there, we type in .register, and now we also go ahead and name this URL as, let's say, register. So I'll type in name equals, and that's going to be register. So now let's go ahead, save the code, and we are almost good to go. So now the way in which this thing works is that if you go to the localhost port 8000/register, this is actually going to look for a view which is called as register view in the users app. So the register view in the users app is nothing but this view right here. So let me just open up that view. So we have a bunch of files in here, so it becomes difficult to navigate through them. Okay, so now it goes to the register view. Then it's actually going to go ahead and create a user creation form, store it into this particular form instance, and then we are actually passing in this form over here as a context to the template, which is register.html. And this is the template which we are talking about. So this is actually going to get rendered, and this simply has a form and a submit button which is going to submit the form, which is going to eventually load up the user registration form, which is inbuilt by Django. So now once we know how this thing works, let's run the application by typing in python manage.py run server. So now once the server is up and running, let's actually go ahead and go to localhost port 8000/register, and now when I go ahead and hit enter, it says template does not exist at register, and that means we do have some sort of an issue over here with the template. Okay, so the issue or the error is that this should actually be users, not user. So that was a mistake from my side, and now hopefully everything should work fine. So now if we go to register, as you can see, now we have a login form or a sign up form over here. Now as you can see, we have a form right here, and let's go ahead try to add some data in here. So I'll just go ahead and type in my name, and let's say I type in some dummy password over here, and let's say the password is something like let's say admin user. Let's see, the password confirmation is also admin user. So when I go ahead and click on sign up, as you can see, nothing actually happened in here because we have just written a code to create a form and nothing else. That means we have not yet written the code to actually handle the data from the form. So what we want to do here now is that whenever you click a sign up button, right over here you should actually get some sort of a message like let's say the user has been created. And if the form data which you have submitted, like the username or password, let's say if the password do not match, then the form needs to give you out some warning that okay, the user is now not created. Instead you have entered unmatching passwords or username which is already created. Now in the next lecture we will go ahead and learn how to exactly validate form and how to display a message when the sign up is successful. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.